Scrivener, Save the Cat, 60 scenes, let's get outlining. Hello everyone, it's me, Sarah. Today we're going to be doing some outlining for Project Faye for CampNaNoWriMo in July as part of Prepoon, my fun word that I like to say. Now, to be fair, me re-outlining Project Faye right now is probably something I shouldn't be doing, seeing as I haven't actually read through the rest of the novel in depth wise. I've done my basic read through and I've got my game plan of what I need to add, but the point was for me to do that and then go through in depth and find the places to add all of this stuff I need to add and then re-outline. I'm gonna outline anyway, even though I haven't finished what I need to do. But you know what, it's fine, I'll just do all that other stuff later. We are going to split the screen now. Is this going to work? I don't know if this is going to work. Let me show you my current setup. Did that work? I don't know, we'll see. So this is my current setup of Project Faye. I write on Scrivener. I only ever use Scrivener now to write. Here's the setup. We have my manuscript over on the left hand side here, with all of the chapters. There are 23 chapters in total. Is there 23 chapters in total? There's not 23 chapters in total. There is 23 chapters in total. I don't even know how many chapters this thing has. 23, I thought it was 22. 24, I suppose, if you want to include the prologue. That's how I drafted it during camp in April for my 70k in 7 days. Still haven't got over that. So what I want to do and what I need to do is I need to now set up Scrivener in a way for me to re-outline. But I'm not just going to be using Scrivener. I'm going to use the Save the Cat Writes the Novel beat sheet method, and I'm also going to be making use of the 60 scenes method of outlining, which is basically, so each novel should have 3 acts, and in those 3 acts there should be 60 scenes. Obviously you can do less, you can do more, it depends on your story. But basically that's what it is. 15 scenes for Act 1, 30 for Act 2 and 15 scenes for Act 3 will give you 60 scenes. It's a mess, I'm warning you now, but that there is 60 scenes. It's not 60 scenes at the moment because I am missing some. If you can see right there, I'm missing a couple there. This is 60 scenes. Each scene is on a post-it note. So that's basically what I'm planning to do, except I'm going to do it on the Scrivener app, and it is possible, and I'm going to show you how. A bit of a disclaimer, I'm not an expert on Scrivener. There are tons of stuff on Scrivener that I can do but I don't do, and things that I know how to do but I don't do regularly because I forget to do it. I'm going to actually make an effort to do it now because it will make my life easier if I do it. I like doing things the hard way though, so we'll see. Right, let's get to it. I have here my Save the Cat beat sheet. This is basically, very basically, what the outline is going to look like, the new outline, based on what I need to add. Now I need to cut it into scenes and stick it onto Scrivener. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to take everything out of manuscript and I want to put it in a new folder because that's my old manuscript. So we'll highlight all of those. See, I'll move those all to 0 draft. So here now is my manuscript, completely and totally empty. So the first thing I'm going to do to set this up is I'm going to put this into 3 different folders. I'm going to have Act 1, Act 2, Act Twio, actually, Act 1, Act Twio. I'm doing this a long way instead of using the shortcuts, but I don't actually know what the shortcuts are, so I always forget. So we've got Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3, which should be folders and not... I'm trying to teach you guys about Scrivener and I can't even do it myself. I'm so let's just fast forward through this bit, shall we? Right, so I have Act 1, Act 2 and Act 3. I'm so terrible. So Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, 3 acts in Save the Cat. So now what I want to do is I want to go into each of these and I want to add the scenes. So Control N is going to 15 scenes for Act 1. I can't really show you fully, but Act 1, Act 2 and Act 3 all there, done, ready for my scenes. So what I need to do, what I'm going to do, I don't need to do it, but I'm going to do it, is I'm going to go up until scene 15 in Act 2, which is the halfway point, which should be where my midpoint hits. If it's a little bit early, if it's a little bit late, it's not a massive issue. I just want to see if everything I've got can lead up to midpoint without it having to shift either way. This is just me being pedantic about it again. I don't need to do it. I don't need to be this in-depth with it. I just am, because I like to know that the pacing, because pacing is a massive issue with me, is on par with what at least Save the Cat beat sheet says. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Does it work that way? It won't work that way. I have to go from the top. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to retitle the untitled midpoint. So that is where my midpoint should hit. If I was being even more pedantic, if I wasn't using Save the Cat, if I was using K.M. Whalen's 3-act method, for example, I would go even further and I'd note down where all of the rest of the beats need to hit. I'm not going to do that here because that's just too much work that I'm not bothered to do. So the reason I use Scrivener to outline, the reason I use Scrivener to do 60 scenes is because of what it does and what it shows you. If you click on the manuscript button, it brings you to the corkboard view. So the corkboard view, it brings up a corkboard for you. It's like post-it notes, but in Scrivener. You can go into each of your folders through here. Will it work? Yeah, there we go. And it will bring up all of the scenes that you have laid out there for you in the order that you want them, and you can pick one up and you can move it to a different place. So once you've got your scenes written, instead of having to faff about with rewriting, you can just drag and drop where you want the scenes to go. It helps if you are just outlining, it helps. So the other great thing about it is if I double click here, I can write down quick notes on the corkboard view of what the scene is. So scene 1, Act 1 is going to be, not that I've written it down here, the opening image. So I can change the title, I can put opening image, which is Save the Cat, and then my opening image is Kinley sneaking around the under earth. So that is my opening image. It's there. And then if I go into the actual tab itself, so double click in the corner, I can then write fully what the entire scene is going to be. But there we have the opening image, which I suppose I could highlight if I wanted to, but I don't need to. So if we go back to manuscript, if we go back to Act 1 in the corner, we've got the opening image, which is Kinley sneaking around the under earth. If we go in further, we have a very basic what the scene is going to be, and that is what I'm going to do for the entirety of what I have here. Despite the fact I don't know where anything's going to go, and I don't know without looking in the book what scenes I have and what scenes I don't have, this is basically what I'm going to do today. I'm not going to make you watch me do it all, don't worry. I've done my explaining. So I'm going to sit here and drink my tea, and I will catch up with you once I have done a bit more work. Yay, outlining. Just a quick note to say, I fully understand that the opening image is not the prologue. I'm not counting the prologue in the actual Save the Cat beat sheet itself, because I find prologues to be separate from the story and not part of the story. So that's why we're starting with chapter 1 and not the prologue for the beat sheet. You need to outline, Sarah. You need to do it properly, Sarah. So this is what I've done so far. It's been about 10 minutes since I last saw you. I'm just flipping through the manuscript at the moment, really, just to get down the different scenes for the different beats I have in the first act. Here's my first issue, okay? I write very long scenes. Most of my scenes are an entire chapter because of how I split my scenes. My issue now is this. We're here on debate, and here is broke into two. So I have officially, even though it encompasses 48 pages, which is however many words it is in the actual manuscript. Let's find out actually. 14,000 words. So 14,000 words, which is some amount of percentage of the novel. Hopefully it's 25%. Now I'm getting into it. This is what I should not be doing, getting into the logistics of everything. Okay, so Act 1 takes up currently 20% of my novel. So it is a bit too short. It should be about 25%. This is where 60 scenes doesn't work well for me, because my scenes are so long. It doesn't work that way. So it's not a massive issue. I can chop and change scenes if I need to. I can make it more of a cut rather than everything else. It's not a massive issue. Editing Sarah popping in here quickly to say the reason I actually use 60 scenes is because I colour code, and I like to get a big overview of the content that my scenes contain, so I know roughly what I have in regard to my novel. So different scenes are colour coded in different ways. Anything relating to the main plot is blue, for example. Anything that is major character development is pink. Anything that heavily involves subplot is yellow, etc, etc. So if everything is colour coded in the 60 scenes and I take a look at it bird's eye view, I can see how much of my novel is focused on plot, how much is focused on character development, etc, etc. So like I said, it's not a massive issue. It means I'll just have to stop there and go straight into Act 2, and I will figure out all of the logistics and splitting scenes up when I've put in what I have into the acts that I've got. Okay, so we've got the bare bones of the plot. I have sort of marked out the big points within the Save the Cat beat sheet. So we have Act 1. Obviously, I've just put the titles up at the top for the scenes. So we get up to debate here, and then we're supposed to break into two. So obviously I need a little bit more to fill in here. Act 2, looking a little better. I've got the break into two scene and then the B story scene here. I haven't filled in fun and games because that's where I need to sort of work out what I want to go where. I've got my midpoint set in. Bad guys close in also hasn't been filled out because again, that's what the part of the outlining I really need to work on. And then I've worked backwards from Dark Night of the Soul, which is the last beat in Act 2, up until All Is Lost, which is just after Bad Guys Close In. This one here, where the Dullahan attacks, is the last scene of Bad Guys Close In, because that goes straight into All Is Lost. Spoilers, by the way. Just so you know. And then Act 3, I've managed to fill in quite a bit. Obviously, again, my chapters are really, really long. So I've got all of my break into 3 here, going straight through to executing the new plan. I've got the final image, and then there's a few scenes there which I can add if I need to, or I can split up these chapter long 3,000 word rather large scenes. I'm sure I can figure out a place to split them up if I need to. So we have the entire beats plotted out in the places they need to be. So all I need to do now is go through, First of all, the actual Save the Cat beat sheet here, I've noted down in fun and games and bad guys close in, if you can see, the events that need to happen within fun and games. And then I need to correlate that with, I suppose, the scenes that I have in the actual manuscript itself as much as I can to sort of figure out what scenes go where and then what I want to happen in all of those. That is how I'm outlining right now. So I'm going to refill my tea because it's empty. It didn't go cold this time. It's empty. And then we're going to get to actually doing the outlining part of this outlining business. Okay, I can't do it. I can't do it. I've tried to split the scenes. My scenes are just going to be very long, meaning I will have less than 60 scenes. That might change as I rewrite, who knows. So if we get into what I have, and then all I need to do, because I've got less than 60 scenes, again, not a massive issue, my scenes are quite long. If I split my scenes up, I would have more scenes, but less than 60 scenes, it's not an issue. At least I know where I'm going. So all I need to do is make sure that Act 2 is double what Act 1 and Act 3 is, because it's standard that Act 2 is bigger than everything else. So let's get into what we have. At the moment, this is my Act 1. I've got eight scenes for Act 1. So really for Act 3, I will also need roughly 8 scenes. I have more than 8 scenes. 6, 8, 9, 10, 11. I have 11 scenes for Act 3. And then in Act 2, I've actually filled out the entirety of Act 2, which is where my issue lies now, is that Act 2 scene-wise is more than double what Act 1 and Act 3 is. Even though content-wise, even though word count-wise, I guess Act 2 would be double what Act 1 and Act 3 is. So I'm not sticking 100% to the 60 scenes because of how I write and because of how I decide how my scenes are split. So this is what I've got at the moment. This is my outline. This is my outline for Act 1, Act 2. Actually, there's a little space there which I don't have. So, and Act 3. Oh, it didn't work. And Act 3 is outlined. It's outlined, which is it's a very basic outline. Like, I haven't filled in any of these, which is not the plan today anyway. During the rest of this month, I will take my time and go deeper into what they are and sort of chart character arcs within those as well, if I so choose to, or at least add all of the important bits that I need to include within those scenes. That's what I need to do. Now, with Scrivener, actually, you can also do the list form. So you can see all of your acts in a list. If I click on manuscript, but you can see the list with the synopsis in it as well as it goes. Now, in the list form, you've got labels and you've got status, which is something I don't always utilize when I write and when I rewrite and when I outline, which is something I'm going to utilize today. So if I click on this little I button here in the corner, it brings up this beautiful, lovely little thing here. What I can do is I can add project notes. So if I bring up Act 1, it will bring up the synopsis, which is down here on the card. I can add document notes. So need to add more detail. Just a random document note that doesn't appear anywhere here, but when you obviously click into it, it gives you document notes on stuff that you need to add or stuff that you need to take away or stuff that needs changing. The other thing that you can do, which is what I don't usually utilize, but I'm going to utilize as best as I can at the moment, is the general metadata. Now, this helps you identify your cards, identify things in the draft folder, which is what's inside the card. So if I go to label here, I can label it idea, notes, character notes, chapter, scene, or I can make up whatever else I want to label it as. If I click on scene here and label it as a scene, you can see in the corner here, it is a little blue tab in the corner. So that will tell me instantly if I'm looking at it from my Act 1 point of view, that is a scene. If I was writing within Act 1 and I wanted to write character notes on something, I would label it as character notes. So I know just by looking at the little tab what is within that card. It is my character notes. The other thing you can do is give it a status label. So you can label it as, and I'll go back to manuscript for this one, you can label it and it will come up with to do, because that is to do. And if I go into opening image and give it a status of first draft, because it's currently a first draft, if I then go into Act 1, first draft will be up across the card, so I know by looking at it immediately that it is a first draft of what I'm writing. It's not a first draft of what I'm writing, obviously, it's basically just a scene. But then I can do, this is my revised draft of that scene, this is the final draft of that scene. It's completed, it's finished, it's done. So that way I can keep track of what I need to do, what I need to write, what I need to rewrite, what I need to work on a bit more. Like I said, I don't ever utilize this properly. I should do, and I'm going to the best of my ability. And by best of my ability, I mean if I remember to do it or not. So if I put that as to do, which all of them will be, if I click onto list, it will give me a list of everything I need to do, what it is, and what I need to do with it. So if I'm going back and forth between different scenes, the status will automatically tell me what I need to work on. So when all the statuses are done, the outline is ready and raring to go. So I'm definitely going to be utilizing that a lot more, because it will be very, very helpful to have and to keep tabs and track of what it is that I need to do. That's my outline done, by the way. That's me finished outlining. I don't do it very in depth. I should, and I need to do it more. And as I go through the manuscript and decide what's coming out and what I'm going to put in and what needs changing, I will then change it on my actual outline here and go into depth with all of the different cards, all of the different beats, to get that all sorted. This has been a very much a sitting down listening to me talk vlog, so I wouldn't even really call it a vlog, but what are you going to do? I'm not really explaining how to use Scrivener, I'm just explaining how I do my things. Not very well or detailed or with much focus. I'm very, very terrible. Anyway. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know down in the comments below, have you used Scrivener, Save the Cat, or the 60 Scenes method? What do you guys do when you're outlining? And I will see you in my next video. Good thoughts and happy writing.